Okay, YouTube. So I'm doing the changing the pads on my rear disc brakes on my Dodge Dakota. On the later model, second generations, 2003, 2004s, I believe they had the discs. I think on the V8 model, so you might not have them on all the trucks, but for the later models, they did. And I was looking around on YouTube and couldn't find any videos about simply the rear brake pad. So it's a pretty easy job, though. Figured I'd make a video. So you don't need a whole lot of tools. All you need is obviously your lug nut wrench to get off the tire, and a jack stand to safely support it. I jacked it up on the frame here, and then I set it on a jack stand sitting on the leaf spring support. You might have other ways of doing it. I like it this way because it actually drops the axle down, gives you lots of room to work underneath the wheel well. Even though you have to jack it up higher, it just gives you more room to work. So besides that, you need a 10mm wrench. Socket wrench works good. You need a screwdriver, and you need a C-clamp. This is to compress the brake piston. So you probably needed at least a 6-inch C-clamp. So I had to go run and get that from Home Depot to do this job. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started here. So first thing you need to do, once you have the wheel off, is loosen the brake caliper bolts. These guys in the back should come off pretty easily. They're just snugly tight. This one has the hose a little bit in the way there, but once it gets loosened, it should be fairly easy to take off. I'm going to put an extension for that one. Okay, so once you got those bolts out, I slide out the back. The next step is to remove the caliper from the disc, so that's pretty easy. So you have this little retaining spring here, just gotta push it in, and it will rotate out nicely in place. And it just slides right out like that. And pivots on these two down there. Comes right out nice and easy. And I'm just going to set it here on the leaf. If you're a smart person, you should probably wire this off to something. But I'm a dumbass, so I'm just going to leave it like that. But now you can kind of work on it. So just FYI, I actually wasn't planning on going this far, but it was so easy I did it anyways. So to actually get the disc off, it's a lot easier than I thought. All you have to do is give it some light gentle taps. If you don't live in a Rust Belt state, if you live where they salt the roads, it might be a little harder, but here in California it's pretty easy. So I just give it some taps here on some alternate sides of the drum to kind of loosen it up. And once you see it wiggling a little bit, then all you have to do is slide it off, and voila. So this is a video for another day, but I was wondering why my parking brake didn't work. It's because it's completely gone. This was what was left of it. So I'm going to replace these another day, so expect a video about that. But just FYI, if you're curious about how to take the disc off, that's all it is. So, and if you wanted to, you could go get your discs returned or replaced. Mine are pretty smooth and good shape, so I'm just going to keep them. But yeah, so that's how you do that. Alright, so the next thing you got to do now is pry the old pads off of the caliper. So on the outside one, it's pretty easy. You just have these little slots here. Stick your screwdriver in, you push it in, and it'll lift it out of the holes that it's in the back. You can see that in there, but little tabs that go into holes. So you slide it out, and then on the other side, same thing. There's a nice little tab. Jam your screwdriver into, a little holes to grab the screwdriver into, and then it slides out. Kind of got to work it a little bit, but once it comes out, it's pretty easy. Get one side out and kind of go back and do the other side. It's hard to do one-handed. Performance with my knees. There you go. All right, she's out. All right, so now you got the outer pad out. You can see mine was pretty worn down. Hardly anything left. Just if you're curious, here's the old pad and here's the new pad. Pretty big difference in meat on these guys. They give you a lot of material on these pads. So next we're going to compress our piston using our C-clamp. So this is pretty easy to do. Just going to use my high-tech knee mounting technique. Alright, so we're going to set up our C-clamp like so. Try not to drop the caliper off the leaf spring. Alright, and get her set in there. This is pretty easy to set up. Just kind of get it nicely placed on center. There's a nice little nut on the back side of the caliper there. You can rest your other jaw of the C-clamp. And then you just kind of start squeezing it in. And check and make sure you're centered. I'm a little off center, so I'm going to get a little bit more on spec here. On center. Let's try that. And when you got it nice and centered in, it should go in fairly well. And you might want to like kind of squeeze it and relax it and then squeeze it again a couple times. Don't force it too hard. You don't want to score up the side of your piston, but it's sliding in there nicely. And we're going to compress it all the way to the back. Oop. Take it nice and gentle. So I'm going to pause here and you'll see the finished product. Alright, so we got our pad compressed all the way, our piston compressed all the way in. Pad as far as it can go, so I'm going to go take the C-clamp off. Alright, so now you can see here we're fully compressed in. So now we're going to pull out our old brake, and this just pops out. Seriously, Dodge made this so easy. I think these are some of the easiest brakes I've ever done. But yeah, also this one's pretty much worn down to nothing. But nice and smooth at least. Nice even wear pattern. You can kind of see here, nice and flat. So it's good. You know, it's better to do your discs or change your pads sooner before you get down too far and end up destroying your discs. So mine are still in good shape. Alright, so next you want to go and kind of clean up a little bit. So give some sprays with some brake cleaner, kind of clean up the surfaces. I'm going to pause it while I clean, but using brake cleaner and a nice towel, kind of clean up your surfaces and get them clean. Alright, so next thing we're going to do is put on our new pads. So we're going to put our inside one in first. So this guy just clicks in there. Put down the phone. I'm going to make it work. Alright, there we go. So nice and snug in there. Good. Alright. Next one is now you're going to put in our outside pad. So this guy goes on pretty nicely, just close here. So there's little tabs, these little springs here that go around the outside of the caliper. And you just kind of slide it in. Okay, so sorry about that. My last memory ran out, so I got cut off. But just to show you the end result, that outer caliper just kind of clicks into place. You just got to kind of shove it on there, and these springs will kind of go around the outside, and it'll click. Those pins will click into their the holes in the backside of the caliper here, and click in just nicely. And then just make sure that both the pads are kind of equally aligned. So this inner pad can kind of rotate a little bit, so make sure it's lined up so that when you finally go to put it back on to the caliper or the mounting bracket, everything lines up good. So speaking of that, now's a good time to go and clean these sliding surfaces up and grease them. If you're prudent, and you should actually replace these are a replaceable part, but they didn't have any at the parts store, and I'm a cheapskate, so I'm just going to kind of clean them up a little bit with some Scotch-Brite pads and some brake cleaner, and then grease them. Okay, so now we got our sliding surfaces nice and cleaned up and greased. Now you're gonna see how easily this clicks back in. So amazing. So go ahead and handle it into place, and kind of rest these two, what do you call them, tabs onto the back here, onto that sliding surface, and just rotate it into place. Push it in, and I'm doing something wrong. Hold on. Maybe not as easy as I make it out to be, but okay. Let's see here. I'm just gonna check your check your sliding bolts in the back. Give me a second here. Okay, because I only have one pair of hands, I kind of got this all set up to show you. But when you're putting it back in place, make sure that these sliding or these bolts, what do you call them, carriers, are kind of pushed back out of the way so that it can kind of slide into place. I'll do it here on the top one here. See what I'm talking about here? Kind of slide that out of the way, and then this guy can now slide into place. All right. So we got both feet resting there, both feet resting up here on the sliding block, and now we can see that this can slide back and forth. My disc is a little loose because I loosened it up earlier, but now all we have to do is take these bolts. I'm going to put a little grease on them and then slide them in and then tighten them up. As you can see, I put some grease on here on the bolt, and I'm just going to stick it into the back here and hand thread them in. So all you have to do is, once you get the bolts in, give them good tightening, not too tight, but good snug. You don't want these to fall out. Actually, it wouldn't be a bad idea to put some Loctite on them, but I forgot. But anyways, that's basically it. Now you're just ready to put your wheel back on. Said earlier, if you took your disc off, you might want to put the wheel on first before you try tightening the brake, so you don't get it misaligned. But that's really all there is to it. Also, just want to add, of course, once you get your wheel back on, then pump your brakes. Make sure that they repressurize, and then you're going to want to drive around the neighborhood, kind of break in the brakes a little bit, make sure they feel good before you go off and hit the highway. So, all right, hope that was helpful. Sorry if there's any inaccuracies. This is my first time kind of doing one of these, and always double check your work against maybe another procedure if you're not sure.